I hear your voice too, or just your screen?
So what we're doing today, we're going to talk about marketing basics, the beginning of day 2. It's in the copy of PowerPoint 18. I'll have it linked to people watching the video on YouTube. So there's 3 things you want to think about when you do your marketing, like we talked about last time. We want to have a scarcity, an urgency, and a call to action. So what that means is you want to have 3 things that would be at least 2 of the 3 should be in your ads. A good example is builders. They'll say, flash sale this weekend only, 2 lots left, like we mentioned last time. And if you guys work with a lot of new homes, they're crazy right now. They're trying to get rid of their inventory. So right now, the call to action is flash sale. The urgency is this weekend only. The scarcity would be 2 lots left. So I do this when I do open houses a lot. I'll say move up. I got a move up program on this home I'm selling at the open house, or open house with a move up program. The first 5 people to register, so I make it like there's a scarcity, will get $1,000 to use that needed to purchase the house. And then I give up $500 out of my commission as a buyer's incentive. And then my lender gives $500 back if they use him as a lender. And then that way I tie my lender into more business. And then he's willing to support me more in my business because I bring him business. So find a lender that can work with you like that. It's just like new home builders. They tie concessions to the lender. And that's not steering or anything, because you're saying you don't have to use our lender. You just don't get this concession. If you don't, they still get my 500 for me. The lender just doesn't want to give up the 500, of course, if they do that. Or you could give up the full 1,000 if you wanted to, if it how you want to do your marketing. But that's worked really good. And then I put my open house, like we were talking with Evelyn today. You put the open house on your Facebook events. You put it on Eventbrite, and then you also you run a Facebook ad. And use those same words that you're going to be advertising in all those different places for your open house. So on Facebook events, I'll have a virtual and an in-person. And then on my Eventbrite, I'll have an open house on my Eventbrite. And then I also will run a Facebook ad for open houses to run for 5 days. So if you do all that and you set it up correctly, when you do go to your home, you'll have 10 or 20 leads for your open house before you get to your open house. So when you get to the open house, even if nobody shows up, you can sit there and call your leads from your open house. And it works really good that way. Yep. And then you invite everyone. Well, when you do the Facebook event, it lets you invite up to 500 people right there. And then you can share it to all the groups, all the events. And if you tie it back to your KvCORE, I do a whole open house, virtual open house class. It's about 2 or 3 hours long. And we tie all that together through your KvCORE. And we do it all together hands-on. And we show you how to do that. But the basic thing is just remember when you're marketing, you want 2 of these 3 marketing. You want a scarcity, urgency, or call to action. So people, you don't want to just say open house this weekend. And say, okay, great. So is your neighbor. Who cares? But if you can give something back, if you can tie it with something, that gives it much more powerful. And you'll have a much more better turnout. Much more better. That sounds terrible English. You'll have a way better turnout. I know my terrible English. I know I'm laughing at myself. I know we have a teacher. She's laughing at me, but yeah, so that's good. Terrible English, but you'll have your open house a better result, a better result for your open house than you would otherwise.
How to tell our client, like kind of what you're saying, like
Yep.
if you go today or whatever, get pre-approved, I'll pay for your inspection. Like a real
So you can't pay for it, but you can reimburse it at closing.
Oh, okay. So you can say, I'll
Okay.
credit your inspection.
Yeah, I'll credit your inspection
Plus,
at
you don't want
closing.
to pay for it, because if they
Yep.
decide, oh, no.
Yeah, because if you pay for it and they don't want to buy the home, you just have no way to get that money back.
Yeah.
But if you tie it you can give back whatever amount of closing in Texas anyway. In watching the video, we're in Texas. So in Texas, we can give back a buyer's concession for what we want. Of course, if your broker approves it, of course. And brokers don't care if you want to give up your commission to whoever you want. It's your commission.
Yeah.
You can give it to whoever you want. So you could do that. I tell that a lot for my clients. Hey, you didn't get a home warranty with negotiations. I'm buying for you at closing. Because that's something that is important that they should have, or an inspection. I know someone was talking about yesterday, they pay for every inspection for their client and they reimburse it at closing. So they say, every inspection you do, don't worry about it. I'm going to pay that cost at closing. And then whatever it comes, then that makes the client more willing to finish the contract because they just, gave up $500 and they're going to lose that if they decide not to buy the house.
Yeah.
So it's another incentive for your client to continue with the contract. So that's a great idea. I remember as 1099s as realtors, we end up paying 30% anyway, usually, to our taxes. So that's now becomes a write-off.
Yeah.
So I always try, if I make 3%, I always try to write off at least 0.5% of every deal. So I give back a gift, I give back a closing something, I give back a buyer concession. something I can do that I could write off on my taxes for marketing.
Mhm.
That can come out.
That $500 back for their inspection, that doesn't count as a gift, right?
It doesn't, that's part of my marketing budget, because then I tell my client to market me, and I tell them, hey, I'm going to give this buy to you as a $500 concession to pay for your inspection, but that's coming out of my marketing budget so that you can market me to your friends. And I write that in writing, so now I know that it's in writing that that's my marketing budget. And you can write off 100% of marketing, but you can only write off a certain percent of gifts.
Yeah.
Yeah, but that's a good way to give. I give back like a lot. I'll do a lot of like blinds. I'll do garage door openers. I'll do washer dryers. I'll do a fridge, not a big fancy fridge, but one for $1,000, whatever. And then I'll be able to give that back to my clients. And then that's a gift, but it's my marketing. It's not really a gift. It's my marketing. It comes out of my marketing budget, because then every time the client opens the door, opens the fridge, opens a garage, they think about you as a realtor, and they're going to be telling their friends.
Yeah.
So it's an easy way to get referrals without having to do anything. Okay. So think about what can you give back. It's better to give back something physical that they're going to use every day. Like that's why people like to give cutting boards, which are great. They're going to be cutting with the board every day, and they're going to be thinking about you. I like to do Cutco knives. They're really high quality knives. People use them. There's fishing, hunting knives, and also working. You can buy a gift set for $100, very inexpensive, but it's something they're going to use every day in the kitchen. And then every time they use it, they're going to think about you as the agent that you gave it to them. So something to keep in front of the client. That's just kind of an idea. And that's kind of how you start tying things back. That makes sense? Okay. Now, the other thing we want to talk about is the 4 pillars of sales. You're all salespeople. If you didn't realize it, welcome to the sales world. You have to accept it, just move with it. And I always say, when I was a kid, I used to say, I'm never going to be in sales. And now, like the last 15 years, I've been in sales. It's just how it happens. Whenever you say don't do it, it's going to happen. So we sell ourselves, we sell the house, you sell your product. So we're going to walk through kind of how to structure a little bit, kind of how to think, how can you present your presentation? And we're going to talk about doing it through a listing presentation, kind of how we talked about it last time we met. So we're going to walk through it again. And again, I stole this from Carmen Bean. I watched the video she did. So she's a good friend of mine. Her husband's from Maine like me. So I think she's great. So I give credit to where it's due. But I'm going to walk through. I tweaked it a little bit. We're going to go through a lot of different things right now you can use for your marketing. Find what works for you and focus on that. Not everything is going to work for you. Okay. So I'm going to give you all kinds of tools, all kinds of ideas right now as you start going through this. Think of how you're going to apply it to your marketing. Not everything's going to work for you. So if it doesn't work for you, don't use it. If it does, take advantage of it. If not, practice with it. See if it works. If not, change it. Okay, so you should be changing your marketing, your presentations as the market changes and as things happen. Okay, so I'm going to go through it with this trust, need, solution, urgency, or I'm going to go through it like I'm doing a listing presentation. So when I go in, they'll say, I bring my lockbox in my hand when I go in so they see it. I carry it with me and I'm carrying it like it's like my little friend in my pant. And I do it on purpose. And then they'll say, where are we going to put our stuff? I usually put it in the kitchen table, whatever. That's when most people want to sit down and talk. So I'll put my bag down, but I don't sit down yet. And then I put my lockbox and I put it like right on the kitchen table. And I make a little bing and I click on purpose because I want them to notice it. So we're doing that for the psychology of sales. For why are we doing that? What do you think? What's the point? You're going to assume the sale, but also you're going to let the client know what? I'm prepared and I'm serious. I came prepared. I have the lockbox. I'm going to list your house today. And I like to do it to make it, because I make it kind of a joke, because they're like, and they always say, I'm not listing today. I'm just here to see your presentation. And then I say, oh, it's my lucky lockbox. I just take it with me. Yeah. And I just make it kind of a joke because I do like carrying my lockbox. It makes you feel better because you're ready. It shows that you're ready. And then so right there, you set the stage. I'm ready. I have my lockbox. I'm ready to list your home. I'm here. I'm serious. I'm going to make it happen. And then I turn it into a joke because the first thing is trust. People need to like, love, or trust you. So if I can make a joke psychologically, if you can laugh at people and kind of it makes everyone a little bit happier, you lower the nervousness, and it releases kind of toxins in your brain, which are happy toxins, and it makes you connect with the person. So if you can kind of laugh and joke with people, you connect with them better, and then you have a better connection. You trust them better and you like them better. Okay. And then I like to do is at that point, I don't sit down. I pull out a yellow legal pad. So who uses yellow legal pads? I know we talked about this last time. Attorneys, lawyers, doctors, right? People who are professionals use the yellow legal pads. It works the same with a clipboard. I don't know why, but clipboards work the same, is what the studies say. So you pull out a yellow legal pad, and then you say, remember, you're in charge of the listing presentation. So you say, you be polite, and you say, can we please start at the front of the home? We're going to tour the home, and I want you to show me everything, of course, but I also want you to tell me why you love the home. Because they're going to tell you why they bought the home. And that's going to make it so you know how to sell the home now. Otherwise, you don't know what people will, you'll look, but if someone who's lived there for 5, 10, 20 years, you know why they love that home. You can always say, people say, why do you love your home so much? You can say exactly why you love it. Because that's one of your main features. You'll tell them about it. So we had one client that I was helping, a new agent. We asked them that. They're like, oh no, we're not going to start at the back. I was like, okay. And they said, let's go to the not at the front. We went to the back porch instead. And they were in this weird place in Selma. And we didn't even know. You walk in their back porch and they were like at this corner of a lot you would never have noticed. And they could see the whole city underneath them. And I was like, this is the craziest thing in the world. You never would have known it had any view at all until you walk into that back porch. And you said, this is why we bought the house. And I was like, oh yeah, you're going to sell this house so easy. Because every night, that was where the sunset went down every night. And they said, we sit out here and they built this big deck out there because it was such a beautiful view. And they sit out there every night and watch the sun go down and drink wine. I was like, all right, you just sold the house, guys. Yeah. It was so easy. Yeah. Because it was so beautiful. And you would never have seen that until we wouldn't have noticed that. They pointed that out to us. So that, of course, that was our main write-up on the description for the agent. Sit on this back porch. And the first picture on the MLS was this beautiful back porch view in the sunset. Because that's what sold the house. So let them tell you what's going to sell your home. And then with your legal pad that you have, they need to see you writing down what they're saying. So psychologically, that lets them know that you respect their words and you're listening to them and you're writing it down. Okay. So do that and then go through. And then what I like to do as we're touring the home to build that trust, I look for 3 things. I look for military, kids, or pets, any of those pictures. Being prior military, if I see other military, we connect, we laugh, we tease each other, we're fun. We can have fun and you connect really easy. If you see pictures of kids, most people have kids or grandkids or nieces, nephews. If you see pictures, I love to I have 4 kids. I love to talk about, I have 2 stepkids. We love to talk about our kids, of course. So if someone asks me, I'm like, yeah, I'd love to tell you about my kids. So then, pause for a minute, talk about your kids if you have any, or if not, listen to them. People would love to share that. And by doing that, if people are listening to you and you're having, how old are they? What do they do? Just spend a couple moments. Don't be there for an hour, but spend a couple moments because you want to get through the tour. I know you're laughing already. I've had that happen. I'm like, guys, stop talking. So at that point, you can't, as an agent, you don't want to talk yourself out of a sale. If you spend an hour standing in the front room talking about their kids, you just wasted your whole presentation time. So you have to just listen to the client, have a couple, listen to them. You're building that relationship. You're showing respect. You're learning about their family. Or if they don't have kids, most people will have pets. And then you can share like, oh, I have a pet. I grew up with this, And then you can share about pets. People are very happy talking about it. So spend a few minutes getting to know them. That also reduces the stress level and slows everybody down because you're nervous. You're doing a presentation. They're nervous. They don't know what their house is worth. They don't know what's going on. Everyone's kind of like, okay, what's happening? What's going on? So that calms everybody down a little bit by having a chance to talk. And then when you go back after a 5-10 minute tour, when you go to sit down at the kitchen table to do your half-hour presentation, which it should be only about a half hour, if you do your quick presentation at the table, you're much more comfortable together. You know a little bit about them. They know a little bit about you. And then you can sit down as friends. It makes a big difference to not just sit down and jump. What do you got? Here's your house. Here's what it's worth. Just calm down a little bit. See the house. Get to know the client. And then sit down. It makes a big difference. People want to work with people they like. If you have no personality, you need to practice talking to people and doing small talk. A lot of times these days, young people, not you, but other young people, I'm teasing you, but other young people can't have a conversation because all they do is their screen time. When I talk to people, I'm like, dude, you need to learn, you need to practice. It sounds silly, but sometimes you need to practice talking to people. So you have to do that. You have to be able to have a little conversation with people. If not, fine, go to Toastmasters, which is in San Antonio. You can do that. It's very inexpensive, and they make you stand in front of people and practice public speaking.
Really?
Yeah, it's a Toastmasters is called. They toast you. It's a joke. No, it's a professional speaking group. It's really good. We had to do it as part of our master's program. They made us do it.
Oh, wow.
It was really cool. You should do it. And even if you only go for a couple of meetings, they make you stand up and they say, okay, this is your topic. And you have to go give a topic and you might know nothing about it. It doesn't matter. You have to research it and give a topic like a 5-minute speech quickly. And then everybody in there will give you feedback. Not to be mean, but they want to make you a better speaker. So let's say you've done this, you do this, you used to, you say, a lot. I have one lady who's like, every time she talked, she clicked. It was so annoying. It drove me crazy. So we told her, you're a clicker. She's like, well, it's like every time, and she didn't even know she was doing it. Not to sound mean, but she was like, oh, I didn't even know I was doing that.
Yeah.
So they give you what people would notice when you're speaking, and it helps you be a better public speaker. So I highly recommend, and we're getting sidetracked, but Toastmasters is important. It will make you a way better public speaker, a way better communicator. And they also give you vocabulary words that you have to use, different words you might not be familiar with, and you have to use it during the regular conversation. They make you have like chit-chatting between each other. So it's a really cool thing because the art of conversation is dying out. So you can join. It's very inexpensive. It's a really good program. And then if you do good enough at the beginning, you can start to lead the presentations as well. So it's a lot of fun. So I recommend doing it. I really enjoyed it. So now back to our listing. So after we do our tour, we sit down, we practice, you get toasted with Toastmasters, you're ready to go. And then you sit down, we're going to talk about the need or pain of the client. So if somebody is selling their home, what are they worried about? What is that?
Money.
Money, how much they're going to make, right? That's a big one. What else? Part of that is your commission. Okay, what else are they worried about? And I hear
Market.
days on market is one of the biggest ones I'm hearing a lot right now. Most people know they're going to have to pay you something to sell their house. And they're just worried, how much am I going to make after that? And what's my days on market? What else are you seeing?
Repairs.
Repairs are big. You see anything with your people that they're more worried about, Sylvia? Same. That's what I'm seeing a lot too. You guys see anything else you hear worried about a lot? That's the big ones, really. So what can you do for repairs? We talked about this last time a little bit, but
Concessions or pay
so you mean offer seller concessions
Seller
in lieu of
concessions.
repairs?
repairs.
Okay.
Find a contractor that will be willing to get paid at closing.
Yep. So a lot of contractors, if you put 10 or 15% down, they're willing to wait to get closing to get paid the rest. And they'll do that once you're under in the option period when you have someone inspections, they want to get this done because they know they're going to probably close the home if it's in the option period, getting out of it. They'll agree to do the repairs, and the repairs don't have to be done until before closing. So the repairs don't have to be done in the option period. So find a contractor to wait to find someone, say, yeah, he'll do it. They'll pay it. You'll get paid at closing. Wait till after the option period. After the option period, you do the repairs because then you know they're probably not going to back out because then they'll lose their earnest money. And then most people don't want to do that.
And hopefully there's no lender required repairs.
Yeah.
Increases that value.
Yeah, that's the other things that happen. Yeah, if you have the lender required repair, you have to do that. And hopefully you priced it right. If you know how to do a CMA, that'll be the value pricing correctly there. That's just part of the deals. Okay, so repairs are big. And then the other thing you can do that we talked about is KvCORE. That's a company that will come in and do all the repairs that they're asked for or needed, and you don't have to pay anything till closing.
What is it called?
KvCORE, CuRBIO. I've used them in San Antonio. They're really good. I can give you my lady's name if you need it that I work with. She was awesome. And a lot of investors use them. That's how I found them. An investor friend of mine told me about them because we needed some heavy repairs on one of our listings. And the lady just didn't have $30,000 to do some stuff.
What do? They do the repairs.
They do all the repairs and then they charge a change order every time they do anything. So that's how they make their money. And their repairs they get a percent back from the contractors that do the repairs. And our quote was like $100 more than like 3 other contractors from KvCORE without KvCORE. So the contractors, our guys didn't upsell anything. They just were lucky to get a free deal. So KvCORE feeds them deals and they give a percent back. And then they just charge a change order every time you do anything.
No, that'll be paid at closing.
And that's paid at closing. You do have to have a certain amount of equity and all that kind of stuff in the home. And all they do is put a mechanics lien on the home once they start working. And then that mechanics lien they're taken off right at closing. Very simple process. It was very easy. And then they just send all of their invoices right to the title company. And the title company pays everybody right at closing. And we did it right here with this ENV Title, and they were great. We had no issue with that. Okay. So what about days on market? What can you do to help clients better days on market? Price it right. That's the biggest thing right there. You just said price it right. So if it's priced, there's a couple stats you can read. If it's priced if say it's worth 300,000 and you price it at 300,000, you're only going to take about 75 to 85% of the buyers are going to look at a home priced at exactly the list of what it's worth. That's just how the math works in the stats. If you price it 10% under, you get 80% to 90% of people that are looking at homes. If you price it 15% under, you get 95% of the people looking for homes looking at your house at that price point in that area. So it's always, that's why you can, and there's graphs, I'll show you how to find those later. In your BoldTrails or KvCORE, we show you how to do that presentation on the presents, if you have it. I know you don't have it on yours, Avalon, but if you have the presents, it has those graphs already in there for you. And then you can share that and show the client, hey, your home's worth 300,000. You're pricing it at 300. If we drop it down $10,000 or 15,000 under asking, then we're going to get, another 20, 30% of the people who are looking are going to come to your. So pricing strategies are important. So what else would get a home to sell quicker?
Well, I was gonna add to that.
Yep.
It's important to price it right at the beginning.
The very beginning is very
The
important.
first 2 weeks are gonna tell you everything. And once
Yep.
that listing gets stale, then you're just.
Yep. If it's been too long, no one's going to look at it.
That's what happened to us. We priced it very
Yep.
high.
I had a listing that expired and the lady wouldn't listen. She had to price it 20,000 over.
Yeah,
It took her 6 months to even do one price reduction, and we had no showings until we dropped the price. And then at that point, like you said, it was stale. We were already 6 months on the market, so people thought there was something wrong with it.
well, they had already bought, like the folks
Yep.
that I'm calling back, they've already.
They bought a different house. Yep. So you lose it. So you got to price it right to begin with. Like Sylvia said, that's really important. Get the right price up front.
Quick question
Okay.
on that.
Yep.
So I've heard of some, or I've seen some agents where they cancel the listing and then they do it.
You
as a
can't,
new
it's
listing.
illegal to do that. It's against the MLS regulations. You can withdraw the listing
Right,
and then you can, if they're doing repairs, then you can put it back, but it keeps the days on market.
right.
If you cancel it, you're not supposed to cancel it with the intention to put it back to have 0 days on market.
So
if
many
you-
agents.
Oh, that's-
Just so that it'll.
I know,
They changed the first photo.
Yep.
Just to.
make it look different. It's unethical if you do that. That's between you and your broker. Yep.
I've seen people, like, cause I
Yep.
didn't do it, but,
I was like, oh, don't tell me. Yep.
And then time, and then they hired me to relist it for them, so
So it's okay. It's okay if it's been a couple months. That's different. But
still shows like the original days on.
that's
market.
only if you withdraw it. If it's withdrawn, it'll show the original days on market with a slash and then the new days on market.
That's how mine is, but then
Yep.
down the street, there's another listing that I talk to
Yep.
the owner all the time, and theirs was listed longer than ours, and it still hasn't sold, and then it came up as new, but it doesn't show the old days.
So
on market.
that's because they canceled it like she was talking about.
Yeah,
So if you cancel the listing,
yeah.
it'll show no past days on market. A lot of agents do that to try to make the listing look fresh. And then they relist it with a different picture, so it looks like a new listing.
Because theirs it doesn't show any of the
Well,
other.
agents are not, it's not supposed to do, that's against the ethics of an agent, but but that's between you and your broker. I'm just telling you as your trainer, that's unethical and you have a code of ethics you sign as a realtor.
Yeah.
But you gotta do what you gotta do with your broker.
What if you have it listed, and then you switch brokers, so you cancel that one and relist,
That's different if you switch brokers. You can do that. You can, because you're not on the same broker.
so then it won't be enough.
And you'd have to cancel unless the broker, well, some brokers just let you transfer it over to your new brokerage. That gets more complicated if you have the broker that does that or not. Because if they just let you transfer in your name to the new broker, it'll keep the days on market. If they don't, and the seller says, no, I want you, I don't want Andrew, then you would have to cancel that one, re-sign under your new broker's name instead of transferring it. Then it gets a little more complicated. But that's not, if that happens to a lot of agents where they leave a broker and go to a different one and they have to cancel because the seller doesn't want to go with anyone else. And the broker said, no, you can't take it with you because your listing belongs to your broker, of course. So then to get out of it, the seller has to cancel to have you open it again at the new broker. So that can happen. Do you have a something to say, Robert? You good?
Not all brokers will let, so that's their listing,
Yep.
and they will not let you take it with you.
Right.
Yep. Some brokers don't, which they don't have to because it's their listing. You don't own the listing unless you're a broker. It's your broker's listing.
I don't know, switch like an EXP and MBT to buy
Yep.
more stuff, even in the middle.
More people are more willing to do it these days because they realize agents
Move on.
are move every most agents move every 2 to 3 years.
Mhm.
That's what you see every agent. Most agents do that until they find a place or they want to start their own broker or whatever it is. That's just how it is. Very few. Like I've been in mine for I just finished 4 years coming on, something like that. I don't even know. 4 or 5, something like that. It's been a while, but I'm just happy. I'm good. I don't need to go. This is my 5th broker. I'm happy. I'm good. But I shift brokers every 2 years trying to find a place where I fit good.
Mhm.
And that's normal. And then you try to shift and you try to think the grass is always greener, but it's not. That's just where you got to find where it fits you. Okay. So let's get back. We're having good side conversations, but this is important to talk about. Yep. Okay. So when you go into that and then you have the need, we talked about repairs. We talked about days on market. What can you do for value? How much they're going to make? You do a net sheet, right? If you don't know how to do a net sheet, there's a ENV Title is a great one on their website. You should click on education or net sheet. If you go to the website, then you sign up for free and make an account, and they have a really nice net sheet that you can add all the extra stuff in. It's very easy to use. And there's title apps out there too. I think theirs is better than the title apps. I've used both. And not just because I work here, but also because it is good. Not because they pay me as an employee, but it is a good one. I've used it for all my listings, that it gives you really good net sheet, that it breaks it down. Very easy for your client to understand. It isn't overly complicated. It has a big giant number at the top, what they're going to make. And as you change the numbers, add seller concessions, add different things like that, home warranties, it automatically changes it. So it makes it very easy to use, very simple, and you don't have to be over clicking in how to work it. Okay, so that's how you can do that. What about your commission? What are you asking for your commission?
3%.
3% both sides, right? 3 and 3?
Yeah.
Or 2 and 3? Or what?
3.
Okay, do you let the seller pick what they're going to pay the buyer's agent, or do you tell them what they should? Okay, there's no right or wrong answer for that, okay? Don't think it's right or wrong if you do either way. You can tell, so what with the new NAR ruling, you can tell your seller, my commission is 3%. You can pay the buyer's agent whatever you want. The standard is 3%. But you can pay whatever you want, okay? So is there any reason we don't start at like 8 or 9 or 10 or 7?
You can't tell them a standard.
Yeah, there's no, you're right, I shouldn't say standard. Yeah, that's a bad word. The typical, yeah. Whatever you want to say, yeah.
I just let them know, like, look, it takes two sides to sell this
Exactly.
home, and they work just, and
Yep.
they deserve to be paid just like we do.
Yep.
And I've never had a seller be like, no, I'm not.
Most
paying
people realize they're going to pay around 6% or so.
Yeah.
5, 6, something like that. Because everyone knows that's what most people pay. And there's no standard. Everything's negotiable. So that's why I tell them, hey, this is the typical. We pay 3 on both sides. That's it. And then we're good. And we roll out. But they don't have to, because it is negotiable. So I like to tell them, hey, start with 6 or 8 or 10 or whatever you're going to do. But if you're going to add a higher commission to start with, what value are you going to bring? Okay. Do you have a get ready package or a make ready package? What are you going to offer? So we're going to talk about things we can offer. And then I'll show you like a sales ladder I have in my computer that you guys can copy, and I'll give you a copy of it. And you can use that. So when people look, you can offer different options. So I'll pull it up real quick here. So if I grab it here, just grab it, get my glasses so I can see what I'm looking at. Here it is, real estate. Okay, so if I grab this is just an example of something. I got to fix that little line in the way. So this is when someone says, Andrew, what's your commission? Instead of having to say, hey, I offer 3% here, 3% the other agent, this is how we work. I just give them this sales ladder and say, here you go.
And that's on here?
And that's in there. I don't have it filled out as in-depth as mine is, but it gives you, I'll show you where to find it a little bit later. It's in there. And then I just give it to them and say, here you go. Which commission fits your needs? Which one of these packages fits your needs? So then we're going to talk about how they're different. And each of these difference is the value you're going to offer. Remember, what's your value proposition as an agent? What are you bringing to the table that's better than other agents? And I stole this from Greg Luther, just to give credit where it's due. And I'll show, so this is his, but I stole it from him. He told us I made it mine. So then like in the first one, we talk about pictures, right? So if they're doing regular high DP, you want to do real pictures, of course, no matter how expensive the home is. You don't want to do your cell phone. Those are terrible. Don't be, even if it's a $300,000, $200,000, $150,000 home, get good pictures. The $200 is worth it. Pay a couple $100, whatever it is, $150, whatever your photographer charges. Just get some good basic pictures. It'll make a difference, even on a less expensive home. And it lets your client feel like you respect them, even though the home might be only $100,000. You're still getting professional pictures. And it does make the big difference when you sell it. So on my 6% for pictures, I offer just regular pictures. On my 7%, I do a Matterport, like your tour that you were talking about, your virtual tour. That's a little bit different, but I offer a Matterport tour, the same type of thing, where they can watch it. It makes their computer work 3D, and I can walk through the home virtually, or I can put on like VR goggles and download the app, and then I can walk through it virtually on a phone like you're really in the house. And I bring those goggles usually to the listing and presentation with me, and I let the client walk through the homes during the presentation. So they can actually see what it would be like if other people over anywhere in the world can upload this video to their app and they can watch it at no charge. Okay, it's really cool. People love that.
VR goggles.
Yeah, you just go to Amazon and buy a pair of VR goggles for like $20. Don't get the fancy ones, just get the cheap ones that your phone fits in. That's all. You don't need just get the cheap ones. And then you just download the Matterport app. Yeah, Matterport. And most photographers, everyone I know, they all have a camera for this already. And when they do their pictures, they just put it in the middle of the room. They leave the room and it will scan the room and it turns it into a tour. It's it's only like the guy uses like an extra $100 or something, $150, and he has the whole tour built out. It makes such a difference on the pictures in the tour. It looks really nice, really cool. So take the time to do it. It does look really great. So that's my pictures. And then for my 8% package, I offer a drone. Because again, that's going to be another $150 I have to pay for.
And if they say you do 8%, you keep 5 and you give the buyer 3?
Sure do. But it gives me options, right? If I have 5% on myself, what can I do that with that 5 now? What if they want repairs and my seller doesn't want to pay for repairs?
We will take care.
I can give 1% back to the other agent as a concession for the buyer. I can give up seller concession to the buyer in lieu of repairs. So I'm going to cover seller concessions out of one of my percent out of my 5. So now I'm only going to make 4% because I gave back 1%.
But you're still ahead.
I'm still ahead, but I also can write that 1% off on my taxes now as marketing because I gave that up at closing on the CD on the closing disclosure. Because I want to do that because I'm going to make 5%. I'm paying taxes on that because that's a big chunk. Even at a $300,000 home, you're at $15,000. So if I'm making 5%, I want to give something back to start writing some stuff off of my marketing and taxes because that can add up really quick. So that's how you kind of structure your ladder. The other thing I do on my 7% package, as you can see, I get the cleaning. I get a cleaner in there before the pictures, and I try to do the open house the same week as the pictures are done, the first open house when it goes in the market, so that I don't have to clean it again. If I do, I'll do a cleaning before the pictures, and I'll also get it cleaned professionally before the open house. I wanted the home to be nice and clean and smell good when people come to the open house. They can't come to the open house in a dirty house. It won't look good. And then for my 8%, I clean the home again before the new buyers move in. But they have to get the 8% to do that. Okay, and then for the 7%, I power wash the driveway and the front lawn. And then with the 8%, I include a move-in ready package, which includes everything, but then I do landscaping. I'll put in I'll trim the hedges or get some people out there, clean it up, make sure there's nothing that needs to really be done. So when people come up to the house, it has a really good first appeal. That first viewing makes a big difference, the visual appeal for that first viewing. And that's on my 8%. I have that move-in package. So there's a guy that I know at JLA Realty. He does that, and he gets 90% of his listings are because he has a move-in ready package. And he has pictures of before and after, and he shows those in his listing presentation and says, here's my move-in ready package before and after, and homes sell 10 to 20% faster because they have a good visual look when they come up to the home. And he gets 80%, and he said he gets almost all his listings just from those pictures in his move-in ready. And that's what he advertises. That's his niche, and he found that, and it works good. So I offer that with my thing. And then if you do like pretty flowers and stuff, I get them from Lowe's or Home Depot, and I put some cute flowers and stuff, because if they die for any reason within a year and you save the receipt, you can get a free flower back. You just bring the dead ones in and they'll give you a free one for the same type. So then if anything gets cold and they die, I'll just switch out the flowers and make them pretty again. And then I just drive by, and then that way I don't have to buy them again. I just switch them out. It's very simple. Then I can keep track and make sure the house looks good. Okay. And then of course, like I said, 7% is Matterport. And then there's an 8%. If you look at that, I also talk about Facebook ads. I use Facebook ads a lot, and Instagram ads. So I'll talk about my ads. I run ads that bring 40,000 of people a month to my website. And then I can show them all that. And then I talk about my virtual open houses that I run nonstop. And those are a part of the 8% package. All that is included in there when I talk about my ads. And then I talk about also with 8%, I'm going to have someone come mow the lawn and trim the bushes or whatever every month, once a month, so that it doesn't get crazy and overgrown and the buyer doesn't have to worry about it. And then I get all these vendors and I get all that done. And then I'll also have a professional organizer at 8% walk through and help the client know what to clean up in their house. And a stager or organizer, the first time they usually walk through is free. So I get them in there for free for that first initial visit, and then they have to upsell themselves to your client if they want to use their services. So I get them in there so they can give them tips like, oh, you should paint this wall, you should do this. And then if they want someone else to do it, the stager or organizer will do that, but they're going to have to pay them directly. You don't pay that.
Do you have staging you recommend?
I don't have a good one. I'm trying to find some good ones.
One.
So we'll get that information from you. I need to make-
She just did, so what she does
See?
is she goes in for an hour,
Okay.
she charges the agent or the client.
Yep.
They usually pay for it, it's $95.
See, that's nothing. Yeah.
And she walks in and she looks, I mean, she's used to do the parade of homes.
See?
She's a designer.
So that's what you want to do. You want someone like that can go in, and then anything they want to do after you pay the first 95
Yeah,
is paid by the client.
well, the client, I tell them, I prepare them, I tell them, have your notepad. And
Yep.
she's gonna walk around, she puts colored stickies
Yep.
on the furniture that has to go. And so she walks around and the client, the homeowner follows them and is taking notes. She's like, get rid of this, paint this wall.
See, that's
power
perfect.
Wash this, do that. So then the responsibility is
It's on the owner.
on the owner to get
So
everything.
so
ready.
that's what I do for my 8%. So I'm going to have to get your person.
Yes.
So we'll all get your person. Yeah. I'll put it I'll share it with everybody.
Yes.
So those are people like that. You need a list of vendors like that are really good. I'm trying to get better vendors for what I use. So we're going to start to I'm going to put a better class list of vendors. We can all have it because I have one, but some of them have moved. Some of them aren't doing a good job anymore. Things like that. So I need to update my vendors. So those are this is an example of what you offer for different clients. And I don't even have if they have pets, I would offer a pooper scooper service. If they have big dogs, especially, that they'd come out every once a week for $5 or $6 a week. And they come out and they scoop up all the poop that the dogs left behind when they pooped in the yard that week. And then that way the house doesn't smell, no one steps in anything, and it looks a lot better. And they have services that it's really funny, but it's a really big service now. They do it in a lot of big cities. I have a friend who does it in Arizona too, and I was like, that's crazy. But they do that. Okay. So just give you an idea, kind of different thoughts you can do. I want you to start thinking, how can I get, there's no reason you can't go to a listing presentation and start at 8%, 7%. I have 6, 7, 8. I have a friend in Dallas that does 6, 8, and 10. He is roughly the same thing at 6, 8, and 10. And he does about 30 million a year, 25, 30 million a year every year. And he does everything at 8%. He won't take a listing under 8 because of all the different value stuff that he adds. And when his client,
Spending money.
he's spending a lot of money, but he's making the money back.
Yeah.
Yep. So he tells his clients, most people only pick the middle one because you don't only have 3 options. Don't do more than 3 or people get confused. Only have 3 options. And then when people say, wow, this is a lot of it. Well, most people don't do the last one. Most people don't do the highest. Most people just pick the middle. And then your client's like, okay, cool. Let's go with the middle. Because that's what most people are known. I don't want to pay 10%. If I don't want to look cheap at 6, let's go with 7. But if they say, but I love your idea of having the stager come in. I love this idea. And then they want, what can we do to a la carte? Then I say, well, I do an a la carte service at 7.5. And then you can pick 2 or 3 of each section that you like, and we'll add it to the a la carte. And then that way people feel like they're more in charge and they can design the package that fits their needs. You sure can. I will have no problem doing that for you. That's the smart thing to do. Find people who are good at it that you don't know.
Yeah.
And then get your higher commission and then pay. I do that for a lot of people. I can set up ads in a half hour.
Yeah.
I can run through and have them run for you. It's not hard at all.
Great at it. I'm
Exactly.
looking at
Yeah, there you go.
Andrew.
Yeah, I got you, no problem. Yeah, and I can do that for anyone who has KvCORE or BoldTrails. We can do that high level ad for you because that's part of that. We can include it through Facebook. Okay, so that's just some ideas for services that you can do. Let me go back to here. And that's kind of when you go through, as you can see, we have the need or the issue of the client, and then we're coming up with solutions. If you can come up with solutions for people before they even realize that they have that issue or need, you're gonna get it. Because people, you want to think you have to put yourself in the client's shoes or in their mindset. If I'm selling my home, what am I worried about? The other thing I hear that we forgot to mention is interest rates. That's a big thing that people are worried about right now. They're not as bad. They're getting more used to it now. It was a little bit worse at the beginning of the year. But I have a 2.3 rate on my home. I'm never going to get that again. I know it. So me and my wife are like, we want to get more land. We want to get a ranch on, but we're like, shit, we're not going to pay 7%. Yeah, no. So we're like, okay, maybe we're not going to sell. Maybe we're going to keep our home. And we're planning to keep it for a couple more years just to see what happens because we're in that same, we have a beautiful home. We don't have to go anywhere. We just thought we wanted more land. We're like, we're good. We'll just stay where we are then and not worry about it. So you just have to kind of think, what do you want to do? How can you do it? How do you want to look at it? Okay. And that answers the solution for people. So for interest rates, you can offer seller concessions to buy the rate down. For new homes, you can get people in a new home. New homes already have really low seller concessions, or you can do an assumption on a loan on a home that's existing. So if I was selling my home, I would just offer it for an assumption for anyone who wants to assume my VA loan, and they would just pay me. I'd get it appraised, and they would just pay me the difference of the appraised value and what I owe.
I have a question about that.
Yep.
So say you get an assumption and
Yep.
like say they have like $120,000 equity.
Yep.
Obviously, they're not just gonna give it away for what they
So
owe.
your client would have to come up with 120,000 to pay
It
that.
has to be cash, like they don't do financing for that?
I don't know. That would be your client in the bank.
Oh, okay.
But they could probably finance it as a second lien on the home
Mhm.
because they have the home is the
First,
the first one has that fund. They're taking over that first loan, but they know there's that much equity, so they could take that equity out on the home and pay the other person. And it would be between you and the lender and the bank. There's different ways they do it. I don't understand all of it, but then you could do something like that, and then it would be a second lien on the home. But then the home is the asset, so they know the bank knows they can get the asset no matter what.
Mhm.
And usually they only let you do 80% of value of what's owned of that. But if they can come up with some money and the 80% of whatever is owed on the home with the equity, then they can do that. And then they can pull a loan on that. And then they can find ways to do that. Or they have a 401k, anything like that. They can pull some from that. There's different ways, or they can do a grant. There's different ways to get money to pay it,
Mhm.
but they can use that home.
Like that, with an assumable loan, it takes 3 months.
Yeah, it does take time. Yep.
And a lot of sellers don't want to open that phone too.
Yep. So there's positives and they get a really low rate, but it takes longer.
It does.
So if you're not willing to wait for that, I mean, I personally probably wouldn't do it because I don't want to deal with that. Like I said, if I was going to sell, I'd want someone to buy it and move on.
Mhm.
I'd be done in a month and move on. But if it was a veteran like myself and they didn't have, and they had the money to give me the difference and they needed a lower rate, I might be tempted
Mhm.
because I would want to help out my fellow vets and I'd be cool that way. So it just depends on what's happening in the situation. But that's kind of some things you can talk to your clients about rates. Right now, I mean, the rates, people get nervous. The rates are at like 6.5, 5.9, 6.3, whatever. That's not really a bad rate. If you look at in the years, the average rate over the years is 12 to 13%. So we're really less than half of what the average rate is over the last 10 or 15 years. So people are freaking out over 5 or 6%. But when I first was in real estate, our rates were closer to 9.5, 10. Yeah. And we were about, and I was doing, 20, 30 homes a year at that because people, that's what it was. But the price of the home was lower. So as the rates go down, prices go up. So if we don't keep it stable with the rates going up to keep the prices down, people are going to think, oh, if I get a 2% rate, it's amazing, which it is. But then people are going to charge more for their home because you can afford more. So you're going to be right back in the same boat you were if you waited. So that's what a lot of clients that I'm talking to are saying. So you got to be careful with that. But talk to your financial people, check all that out. And then at the end, you have your urgency. Okay. So when you talk to your clients, I always ask them a yes or no question. People are easier answering no than yes. So I say with the value picked and your package you picked and everything, and I explain the value a little bit that they really like, a lot of them are going to be like, oh, I love that idea. And then you're going to talk about that. Remember, we do this, 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 and this. Do you see any reason why you shouldn't list with me today? And you want to ask a yes or no question, but you want to make it easier for them to answer no. People like to say no. That's just the way we're wired psychologically in sales. So you want to ask, is there any reason why we shouldn't move forward today? Or why you shouldn't list with me today? And make it a very straight statement. Don't say, what do you think about my listing presentation? No, we don't care what you think about the listing presentation. I don't want to sound mean, but you're a business owner, right? You're there to get the listing. You're there to make it happen. Who cares if they like it or not? That's not the point. Your job is to get the listing. So then you say, is there a reason? And they're going to always say, I need to think about it or whatever. That's what you hear a lot. When people say, I need to think about it, that only means they need more information. So then you're going to say, that's fine. What do you need to think about? Let me review this. And then you just review some information, answer an issue that they might want to think about. And then I say, okay, is there any reason why we shouldn't move forward now? If they still say, no, I'm going to think about it. If they give you the same objection twice, you have to wait and let them think about it because that's a real objection. Most people, their first objection is not real. It's just smokescreen. And you have to get through the first objection. And then you have to try to get through two more. If they give you the same objection twice, that's an objection they're not going to get over. and you have to respect that. Okay, you can't be a jerk. So you have to respect that. And then if they want to think about it, for urgency, you only give people 24 hours to think about it. If it's longer than that, they forget everything you told them, 50% of what you told them in 24 hours. That's why. If you wait more than a day, you're not going to get them. They're going to forget all your cool programs, all the extra stuff you offer, all the different packages. They're going to forget what it all means within 2 days, 3 days. They've forgotten everything you've told them. People forget 50% of what you tell them within 24 hours. It's just the way it works. So you don't wait longer than that. Okay. So what I tell my clients, if they're like, yeah, I say, that's great. You can think about it. Can I come back tomorrow at this time to sit down with you and your spouse? I'll bring the paperwork with me and we can move forward from there. And if they're like, oh, sure, come on by, that's a good sign. Okay, they're probably going to go with you. If they're like, no, you can't come. I don't want to talk to you. That's not a good sign, but that's okay. If they're like, no, then you just move on with that and say, that's fine. You move on with it. And then you say, okay, can I at least do a Zoom call? You want to see them live face to face so that they're both are there, because it's harder to say no if they're looking at you. So that's where you're going to say no. If they say, no, I'll call you. You probably lost that listing, which is okay. You don't get them all, which is fine. And you probably lost that listing. But then if they say, no, we're interviewing 5 of their agents, come back next week. If you wait that long, you just lost them. So then you have to say something. I always say, I can't wait that long. I need to know by tomorrow at 5 o'clock because I have 3 other clients that I'm talking to, and I can only give this opportunity to 3 or 4 people at a time. Because remember, you're taking money out of your own pocket. So I tell them, this cost me a lot of money up front. So I have to have that 3 or 4 days, time. So if you can't tell me, I have to give this opportunity to another client. And then they're going to be like, oh, okay, that makes sense. But what you're doing is you're pulling away. So in the psychology of sales, if you draw something away, like, oh, you don't want this anymore? Okay, we'll take it away. I'm going to go give it to somebody else. Then you'll be like, wait, no, we want that. And they're going to come back. So you're kind of playing on that a little bit when you think you have to understand how sales works. Okay?
So much psychology, like what you
It's a
say.
lot of psychology.
There's 2 other offers, or I have another offer, that all of a sudden the house just is beautiful. Now
Exactly.
it's so desirable, and somebody else wants it.
Yep, exactly. Because you're thinking, and suddenly, wait, someone's going to take it away, and then I want to lose it. I'm not going to lose this. I want to get it, and it's silly. But if you got to go to car dealerships, other places like that, you don't want to sound like a cheesy car dealer, and don't do anything like that. Okay, make sure you are professional. You do it right. You have to respect your client, but you have to be able to overcome objections, and you have to be able to control the listing presentation. Okay, after 24 hours, you've lost the listing probably. Very, very few times have I ever waited more than that, and I got the listing. Usually if it's more than a day, they're going to get back to me. They're going to have, then other agents are talking to them and they're doing their presentations. They've forgotten mine and they're remembering theirs. Okay. Now, if they have to talk to 5 agents and they refuse to tell you, then you want to be the last agent and tell them, I want you to promise me you're not going to sign anything with anybody until you talk to me at the end. And then you'll be the last person they talk to. If they agree to that, you're taking a chance, because some agents are really kind of annoying and pushy, and they'll make them try to sign right there and put the decline in the yard. So hopefully you don't have that and they'll wait for you, but you're taking a chance. So you have to balance your marketing, how you're going to do that. Okay. Now, the next thing we're going to talk about, I know it's a little late, we're going to take a break in a second, is that people, they don't want to say that. They're not dumb. They're just ignorant. They just don't know. Like a good example, when I was a brand new soldier in San Antonio, I was looking at rentals. And my realtor took me in all these rentals. I was in my uniform, everything, and she never said, Andrew, why aren't you buying a house? You're a soldier. You have no money down. I didn't know. I was an ignorant young soldier. Nobody told me that I could buy a home with a VA loan. They don't tell soldiers that. I didn't know. I was like, what the hell? When I found out, I was like, I would have bought a house yesterday. I would have bought a house at every duty station because nobody told me. So once you realize that, it changes. So you don't want to sound mean by saying people are ignorant. They're not dumb. They just don't know. So it's our job as realtors to explain and say, this is how you buy a home. So if I talk to veterans, I always say, do you realize that your VA loan that you can have no money down? And they're like, what are you talking about? And then I'm like, yeah, this is how it works. And then I just share value. So remember, you have to bring value to the client. What's your value proposition? So I bring that value to show this is how you buy a home with no money down. And then I talk about government grants to cover the closing cost. So I say, you can buy a home, no money down, get a government grant to cover the closing cost, and you can buy a home for just a couple $1,000 out of pocket. And they're like, no way. And I'm like, yep, that's how it works. And then I can connect them, and then you can take care of your clients that way. Okay, the main thing is to help them, give them value. I call it being the chameleon. You don't want to make someone feel dumb. You want to be yourself in their shoes. Like I felt stupid afterwards, and I didn't know. I was a new veteran, We found our realtor. We found ourselves an apartment because we were sick of our realtor showing us weird stuff. So yeah, she wouldn't even listen to us. She took us like 45 minutes from the area we wanted to be at. She was terrible. It was a ridiculous. You're laughing already. I know it was a terrible realtor. I don't even know why we kept her for 2 days. And my wife was like, this is crazy. So we literally just drove down the road and got an apartment because we were so sick of her. We were just like, we're done. Yep.
My husband always says in the military, KISS, keep it simple.
Keep it simple, stupid. I love it. Yep. That's exactly how it is. Yes. Keep it simple, stupid. Love it.
Have all your presentation, there's no needs.
It's simple.
I've got it all right here.
Yep.
And no money down and walk them through the whole process.
And it's not complicated.
You've just put it up here for us.
I just put up and you just do it simple. Like I said, have it all laid out and make it simple, especially for people, just make it easy. And then they understand a lot better. If she would have done that to me, I would have bought a home with that agent in a second. Literally, I was ready to buy a home. I was like, what the heck? And the next day we went to an open house after getting our apartment and we just drove by and stopped at an open house. And I walked in and the lady who became our realtor, I didn't buy that house, but she told us a different house. She said, hey, you have short hair. Are you military? And I was like, yeah. And she said, do you want to buy this house? And I was like, I don't know. My wife's like, yes, you do. And I was like, okay, I guess we do. And then she's like, you can buy it with no money down. And I was like, what are you talking about? And she became a realtor because she added value to me as a client because I was ignorant. I didn't know. So think when you do your presentations and you talk, like Silver is saying, if you can bring value to your client and add value, they're going to respect that. And they're going to go with you because now you're adding value to them. If you're not bringing anything to the table that adds value, they're not going to be willing to work with you. Like I help all veterans help get their disability rating increased at no charge. I go on the phone, I call them. A lot of my people send me their agents and I tell them tips and tricks how to do that. And I have no issue doing that because I want to help. I want to bring value to my fellow veterans. And then I tell them, hey, if you know anyone buying or selling a home, even use your agent you have now. But if you have friends or neighbors, please remember me and send me other veterans that I can help them. And that's how I use that to help get more clients as a realtor. So I'm bringing value to the community, and then I use that to get my clients my referrals. So what value are you going to bring to people who don't know? So think of that's what I call being the chameleon. Put yourself in their mind, change your spots to theirs, and what value can you bring? Okay. Yes.
Just to add to that is do the feel felt found system.
Yes.
I understand how you feel. You know, you're stressed, you're here, you're brand new. But what I have found is if you make the plunge, you start pain, and then finally I feel your pain. I have found this is the solution and go run with it.
Yep.
So feel felt, others have felt like this, but I have found that this is the right move.
So again, it's feel, felt, found, the 3 F's. If you do that, that's a really good way. So you connect with the client. I feel your pain. This is what happened. Others have felt this, felt, and then I found this is the way to overcome it. And that's a great, very simple, very easy. The 3 F's: feel, felt, found. That's a great way to do that. Now, the other thing I want to just mention, I know we're running out of time. We want to talk about stories sell and facts tell. So what that means is when someone wants to buy or sell a home, you have to give them the facts. This is how you list it. This is how you buy a home. You have to get pre-approved. But you always want to tie it back into a story, okay? Stories make people feel like we're part of a group because it's scary to buy. To us, it's not scary. To the average person, it's scary to buy or sell a home. This is a life-changing event. It gets them out of their comfort zone. They're doing something totally different. A lot of people say, what? Well, I'm not going to sell my home. Why? I just don't want to hassle of moving. Because it's a whole change of their life. They're uprooting themselves. They're starting a home with a neighbor. Everything has changed. So you want to make people feel comfortable. To us, as we do it as realtors every day, it's not weird to us because that's part of our job. We see it every day. It's normal. But to other people, it's not. So what I like to say, like I do a lot of first-time home buyers. I'll say, Andrew, I had another client in the same situation. They were a veteran. We bought them their first home. We went to this new build. We got no money down for your VA loan. The new build covered all closing costs, and it only cost them $1,000 to buy the home. And then whatever the appraisal fee is, of $500. So $1,500 in the home was theirs. And I say, are you okay with paying $1,500 for a new home? And of course, they're going to be like, heck yeah. I say, let's go then. Let's go talk to the builder. Boom. So if you tie it to a story and you're part of a group now, humans are what's called gregarious. We want to be part of a group. We feel part of a group. If we can do that and feel part of a group, it's going to make a big difference the way we connect with everybody. Okay. So you want to always share the facts because you have to tell people how to buy or sell a home, of course. But at the same time, you want to back it up with a happy story. If you're a young agent and don't have happy stories, steal some from your team. Talk to Velma, get some happy stories. Build stories from people. It doesn't have to be your story. It can be a real story from someone else. You can steal mine. I don't care. Whatever happy stories you have for your veterans, have a story for each type of client. So if you talk to a forced owner, if you talk to an expired, if you talk to a first-time home buyer, if whatever, I have a story that I've helped every type of client do something, and they're all real stories. If not, find someone else who's done it and say, this is what happened to my team. We just helped this, and then tie it. People want to feel connected, and that's a great way. Okay, the last thing I want to go over before we take a break, I want to go back to the Google Drive, and I want to open, it says copy of target groups. Okay. So when you do your marketing, I want you to start to focus on certain target groups that you want to work with. So like myself, my target group is first-time home buyers, military, new construction. So you want to pick 3 target groups that you've worked with. JJ Guerrero, I'll give him the credit for this. He's the one who put this. I like the way he says it. Think of it like you're going to school and like you're a teacher. When you go to school, you can pick electives. So as realtors, pick 3 electives that you want to work with, either buyer, seller, whatever you want. And these are the electives you're going to work your butt off for 6 months. If you suck after 6 months and you've really put in the effort, that's not for you. Then you need to do something else. I tried divorcees. I was getting listings and I was terrible at it. I was not good. I got too emotionally involved. I'm too nice of a guy. I felt so bad for everybody. I was, oh, that's so sad. I feel bad for you. I was crying with that. I was like, this is not going to work. No. So after 2, you're laughing, but it was true. I found out that my elective, I was trying to try something different. I was like, nope, this is not for me. I can't do this. So I stopped. And that I was pushing hard. I had a couple listings right away. And I was like, nope, not going to happen. So pick your 2. You want to pick 3 electives. So that like mine are VA, first-time home buyers, and military. And of course, new construction, sorry. VA, first-time home buyer, and new construction. But they all kind of overlap, which is great. Mm-hmm. So even though they're 3 different people, they all overlap together. So I can use them all back and forth. So if one of your electives would be open houses, that would mean you do an open house every single weekend, at least 3 to 4 times a week, 3 weeks or 4 weeks out of every month. You might take 1 weekend off, but that's it. And you do it Friday, Saturday, or Saturday, Sunday, every single week for 6 months. And you may take 1 weekend a week off just to recover. And then if you do that for 6 months and you do 3 to 4 open houses every month, for 6 months, and you still suck at open houses, that's not for you. But if while you're doing that, if you learn everything you can about open houses and do that, you're going to find yourself very productive. So I have a good friend, Richard Savage. He's here in San Antonio. He's 81 years old, and he only does open houses for 500,000 plus homes. And he gets 6 to 10 listings for multi-million-dollar homes every year from his open houses. But he has a whole system in place, and it took him years to learn it. But he does price. He does everything over 500,000. He hardly does any homes under because that's his target. So he calls agents in Alamo Ranch, Alamo Heights, and says, hey, can I do an open house for your listing? And he has a whole system. He has it all in place. He has a way to talk to them. He's a great guy. If you ever want to talk to someone, reach out to him. He would have no issue. His name is Richard Savage. He would have no issue sitting down with you. Tell him he already said he's great. And he's a really good guy, really cool guy. Again, and he's 81 and he does this and you would never tell. It's like, how the heck are you moving like that? But that's what keeps him young. He's out there he's busy, he's doing stuff, he's keeping his mind moving, and he loves it. And his wife is with him. She works right next door. She does his accounting because he's like, I can't do all the numbers because he's always showing homes. So every Friday and Saturday, he does an open house every single week, except for like Thanksgiving or something when no one's going to be out. But he does an open house every single week, Friday and Saturday, the whole year. And he takes maybe every now and then he'll take a weekend off, but that's it. He does it all the time. So he says he does between 50 to 100 open houses every year. Because, he does one once a week. That's at least 52. And he does right around 100 a year. And that's what he does. That's his business plan. So again, he does open houses and he kills it. And then out of that, he gets listings. So the other pillar of his business is 3 electives is listings. And then he has open houses, buyers, and listings. And they all came from his open houses. So you want to start thinking, what are you going to focus on? What would help you build your business? And everyone's going to be different. What do you want to do? And then whatever. So as a new agent, you need to think very carefully because what you really start pushing on, like I do a lot of renter buyers because when I was a new agent, no one ever had this talk to me. So I focused on renters because it was easy money then. And I was making, $7,000 or $8,000 a month doing apartments and rentals. And then I just started turning them into buyers. And that's been now the conception. So they say the conception of your business will be the inception of your business. So what you start focusing on right away, you're going to probably fall into that niche, which is okay, because I made really good money on my niche. I love it. But you're going to start focusing on, you're going to get really good at it. And it's going to be hard to change and learn a new skill. Turn them into buyers. I turn renters away if they won't buy. I don't turn them away. I give them to agents who do rentals. Like Richard likes to do rentals sometimes. I send them to him for a referral. He's like, not anymore. I'm gonna do buyers, Morin. After you. That's right. Boom, get them. Get some. So I have a list of agents actually who told me we'd like to do rentals. We don't mind because it keeps them busy. They make $200 or $300 a day, whatever. And if you make one rental a day and you make $200 a day, 5 times you make $1,000 a week. You're making $4,000 a week if you only do it Monday through Friday. So, and then if you do a couple on the weekend, that's what it is. You can still make a decent living. That's more than most people make. That gives you, 40. The average realtor makes 40 to 50,000 a year. So doing one rental a day at $200, and that's the low end. If you find the right property managers, they pay 50%. So when I did my rentals, I only did property managers that paid 50%. So that way I made $1,000 on most rentals, or 800 to 1,000, and I do 5 of those a week, or 2 of those a week, and I was making 2,000 or 3,000 a week. So it adds up really easy. Then if you do apartments, it's another great way. They pay a lot more. So you got to think, what's your structure? What's your target groups you can kind of do with that? So I'm just going to pick one. Which one do you guys like to work with for buyer side? We'll talk about sellers in a second. We'll just got to go quick. Okay, so first-time home buyers are easy. They're worried about what? What's their issue? Their pain or need?
Monthly payment.
Payment, yes. What else? Down payment is huge. So we'll put down payment money. That includes closing costs, all that. Because you're exactly right. All that comes into effect. What else?
Interest rates.
Interest rates, yes.
And then most of them is lease.
So break the lease.
Get out.
And then maybe credit.
Yeah.
That's the other big thing. Anything else big you see?
School district.
School districts, location, yes. What else? Okay, and if you want to make a copy of this, you can, because you're not going to be able to write on mine. So I'm going to delete this off. So what you want to do with this when you think is, do you have a solution for this? So how can you answer the payment issue?
Get them a house they can afford.
Get them a house they can afford, right?
Down
So
payment.
one of the ads I put out that I got like 150 leads in 2 days from Facebook. I did an ad and I said, tell me what you pay in rent, and I'll send you a list of homes for that price. And that was it. That's all I said.
One time, and I got this one lady who was adamant, her payment was $800.
That's okay.
Where am I gonna find her?
So that would be a condo.
Oh, I
Maybe
get
about
people
that.
like that all the time, and I'm like,
Think about that.
that doesn't exist.
Okay,
man.
so maybe, but that's okay. You have to look, right? But
Well, because of the monthly associations, they keep going up.
so what else can you do? So let's talk about payment for 1 second. And then I don't want to get sidetracked, but it's important. So what else can they do? Have you ever heard of Habitat for Humanity? If you go to Habitat for Humanity, they will build them a home and they can pay whatever they can afford for their monthly payment. But they have to help build the home. And then as an agent, if your client's at Habitat for Humanity, you can go there and volunteer. And then those volunteer hours count towards your client's hours needed. Okay. So you don't have to be a carpenter or anything. They'll tell you what to do. Even if you just haul wood or whatever, they don't care. They put nails here, put a screw here. They'll tell you how to do it. And they have professional carpenters there. So if you have clients that want to buy but can't afford a payment, you can go to Habitat for Humanity. They'll build the home. They put it at the price they can afford, and they're really nice homes. They're 3-bedroom, 2-bath homes. And they just have to help build it. It takes about 5 or 6 months to build it. Habitat for Humanity.
You just call them and say hi.
Yeah. And then they have to go apply and get approved with the program. And that's it pretty much. And then they only have them in certain neighborhoods. Like right now it's on the south side. But if they want to buy their own home, why not? It's not even a bad area.
Realtor commission.
They do. They pay 3% realtor commissions. They sure do.
Be out there hearing.
I would, heck yeah. And then what you do is, like, if you say you guys have your 3 agents or a team, you go there as an agent group, and then you can only the agent, the person that knows the client, can donate their time, but you can help build the home anyway and get it done quicker. And then when you do that, it'll be a great way to look, we're giving back to the community. This is what we do as agents. That's a value you're bringing to your clients. Okay. So don't get scared with those low payments. There's other ways to get around it. So Habitat for Humanity is a good one. Also, I talked about did I talk about the HIP program? Remember that one?
Yeah.
If it's a lower income client with the HIP program, they can get up to $30,000 on the home. They can use $15,000 of that 30 to buy the rate down. So they can buy a $150,000 home and buy the rate down to a 3%. and now their payment might only be $800 or $900 a month.
That's really interesting.
Okay, so start thinking I want you guys to think out of the box a little bit. I mean, that's why we're having these conversations. Okay, what about down payment? What can you do there? We don't call it down payment assistance.
Grants.
Government grants, good. People don't like to be on assistance. I don't know why people have a bad connotation with it. So you don't say I have down payment assistance, you say I have government grants, which are the same thing. That's what they are. But the only downside in that, it does raise the interest rate a little bit. So your client has to realize if you get the grant, you get free money, but instead of a 6.5, you'd be at a 7 or a 7.5 or whatever. Depending, the more grant you take, the higher your rate goes up. So you don't have to take it all. You can take as low as 1% or 0.5%, or you can get up to 4 to 5%. Okay, that's another way you can do it. Interest rates, we just talked about it. You can get grants, you can buy it down, you get seller concessions. Go to a new home. Any of those has a lower interest rate. Okay, what about the breaking the lease? What do you do for your leases? How much do you spend? How much do you have a number? I want you to think. So they call it a reletting fee in the contract, just so you guys know. It depends on the contract. Some people make you pay 2 months or 1 month, as long as you know 2 months ahead of time. It depends on the contract. Most people, if you talk to the property manager, like I know you're a property manager, Sylvia. If I wanted to buy a home and I told you, hey, I'm going to try to buy a home in 2 months, can I break my lease? What do you guys do for there?
Yep, okay, we buy it out.
Yeah, you buy it out, right? You just have to pay a fee.
And they have to allow a showing so we can have a tenant ready.
See, and then you have someone else take over the listing. So as long as your clients give the property manager a couple months ahead of time, they're usually okay. Because then, like you said, they can get another client in there. You can allow showings. They can buy and then they can have someone else take over, and then they can move out and get to their new home. I offer $750 for a reletting fee for my clients if they're in a lease, and I pay that at closing. So they pay it to get out of the lease, and then I reimburse that to them out of my concession at closing.
So we can advertise, if you're in a lease, I can help.
Yep, I'll pay $1,000 to buy you out of your lease.
Sometimes the builders are,
And builders will do that too.
Some builders, because some of them
yeah, not all of them.
will pay the reletting fee for them, but they won't pay you commission. So it's like,
Real?
yes, Lennar's like that.
Yeah, Lennar's they're a bad egg anyway.
Lennar's bad.
I don't want to say anything bad because we're being recorded, but yeah.
Realtors will do both. They'll pay you as a realtor and they'll try out.
That's why I do it myself. There's no issue. Because again, that's my fee. I credit back to the client. So what happens? They go to closing. They need closing money. Oh, you're getting $750 from me. That's going to help cover the anything like the appraisal. That covers a full appraisal usually. Anything like that. Or they need extra earnest money if they want to buy the rate down with that $750. Whatever they want to do.
Could include it as part of your gold package.
Yeah, and that could be part of a package you offer for buyers. I only showed you a seller package, right? There's no reason you can't have a buyer package.
I
Okay.
had a builder that paid $6,000 because they had a house that
Yep.
they were desperately trying to sell, and they paid $6,000 to my buyer. They bought for the remainder of the lease. They paid me my commission, and then they closed in 2 weeks.
See?
And it was a VA buyer, so he paid nothing.
See, they're out there. Right now, builders are desperate to sell. It was a new build, yep.
It was a new bill.
So right now, builders are desperate to get it off the books because starting January 1st, they have to pay taxes on those. And not land taxes, but right now they're paying land taxes. The new year, it resets the taxes, and now they're being building taxes with the improvements.
Yes.
So their taxes are going to go way up in the new year. So they want to really get rid of them now, or they're going to be hit with all these tax bills. So there's amazing deals right now. It's incredible. Okay, what about credit? What can you do for credit?
Get them a credit repair.
Credit repair, it's better if you have a lender that will do credit
Like,
simulator, they call it. Okay, and then you don't have to do repair, and they'll just tell them, do this, this, and this, and they'll fix it. The other thing you can do if they have really rough credit, like 500, and it's going to take more than a couple months, you can go to Utopia Homes. And Utopia is a rent-to-own program, and I can send you all a link to sign up for it if you want.
it's like Divvy.
It's like Divvy, but I think it's better. It's up to you. As long as there are 500 or so, Utopia will buy the home for them, cash. They move in as a renter, and they have up to 3 years to get their credit fixed, and they can buy the home whenever they want. It's a great
Still
program.
buying? A lot of those stopped buying.
Nope, this one is still doing it.
And do they pay realtor commission?
They pay, no, the seller pays your commission just like normal. Because they become your buyer. The Utopia becomes your buyer, a cash buyer.
Oh.
And they can even buy new homes. So you could pick a 7% commission new home, get Utopia for your rental client, have them buy that new home, You make your 7% commission, they're renting from Utopia. But now they have a new home with a warranty. Okay, it just depends how you want to do it. So that's where you can get a lot of credit stuff. And then location, as you were saying, location's important. It's up to you to find out when you do your buyer consult, what's important to them as a buyer. So if you guys don't know, before you show homes for a buyer or you talk to a seller, you should have a consult and have a list of questions you ask them. If you don't have that, you need to put one together and sit down with your clients before you go out.
That is so important.
It's so
I
important.
just realized recently, I started doing my coaching with JJ and
Yep.
I said, and I was.
JJ's great. Yep.
Yes, he's amazing. I just switched over with him. That's how I got to EXP.
Yep.
But I was realizing that, okay, like I have 7 pending transactions right now, and I was just so frustrated and
Yep.
stressed out, and I was like, what am I doing wrong? And he was like, it's your fault. Like you have you here, them here, and then in here is all frustration and stress because you're
Yep.
not managing expectations and you're not like explaining. And I know like sometimes I would sit down with them and I would go over everything for them to expect, and we'd have this long drawn out conversation and those would go smoothly. But then there'd be some where they would just call me and be like, hey, can you show me this house? And then things would go so fast that we would miss
Yep.
all these like.
So I highly recommend before you show a buyer, like she's saying, sit down. If they're not willing to sit down with you and make an appointment, they're not serious.
Yeah,
That's how you get rid of the trash too.
a whole conversation and tell them everything to expect. You're gonna have to pay earnest money.
Yep. So if you guys need a buyer's consult on my YouTube channel, I have a video I put up like a week ago, and it's a buyer consult walkthrough. And I gave you a copy of the PowerPoint. I turned it into a PowerPoint for you, and you can just download the PowerPoint. I gave you the link, and you can add all your own. And I went through told you how to do every different presentation in the PowerPoint.
Yeah, once.
So it's right there for you.
Them like and like really just said.
Made a big difference, didn't it?
Oh my God, yes, it's just been.
See? It's night and day. And then if you have a transaction coordinator to help you out, then you don't have to worry about all that extra crap paperwork you have to worry about. Then everything's smooth. Okay. And with the sellers, you do the same thing. Before I go sit down with my sellers, I say, hey, can I have a quick call with you for about 10, 20 minutes with you and your spouse? I just hop on Zoom, turn the cameras on, and then I ask them, how much do you own the home? What are you looking for? What's your plans when you leave? So the main thing to ask everybody is, what do you expect from me as an agent? Because you need to know what's your expectations for me as your agent. And I always say, what do you expect from your agent? And what do you know about the current market? And those are the 2 big ones, that, in my opinion. I know there's other good ones you need to ask, but that gives you a lot of information of what they're thinking. So they know, what do I expect you to do as my agent? And what do I think is going to happen? Because if they say, oh yeah, home, I can offer 50,000 under because it's a buyer's market. You're like, oh, slow down, Speedy. Oh, slow down, Tiger. Let's go. And then we're going to back up, and then you're going to bring them. I call it my coming to Jesus talk. This is what's going to happen. This is how it works. And then you have to answer the questions they might have. Okay, so ask those questions. That's great, guys. So I just want you to think when you do each of these things we just talked about can now be an ad. So if you want to work with first-time home buyers, you now have 6 ads right here you can build. And it would get you first-time home buyer clients. Because you remember, you're answering the solution, right? You're giving a solution to pain, and you're bringing value. If in marketing, if you can bring a solution to people's need or pain and you bring value, you just became a client. They just became a client. So now you have 6 ads right there. So for example, down payment, I would say what? You want to buy a home but don't have a down payment? I have government grants that can cover your full down payment to buy a home. And then you'll be like, wait, how does that work?
And you do some of your closing.
And if you want to mention that, you can too. Yep. And then they're going to say what? Well, tell me more. Great. When do you have time to sit down together? And then I'd bring my lender with me. I would sit down because the lender is the actual person who knows all of it. I know the basics, but they're going to be the specialist, and make an appointment and sit down with them if they're willing, and have the lender there, and then have them explain how grants work. And then you're going to have them apply right there with the lender if they're interested. And then you're good. Then you have the application done right there with the lender on his computer as he's talking to him. And then you can find out if they apply for the grant, if they qualify. Okay. So that's an idea right here for buyers. What about sellers? What kind of sellers do you guys like to work with? Or if you could pick a seller.
Not type A people.
Okay, not type A. You might be stuck with those. That's just how it is.
Sizing.
Upsizing. Okay. What are they worried about? They have to sell, right? That's a big one. They got to sell their home.
Well, sell to buy
Yeah.
Yep. They have to sell their home to buy. Yep.
and the transition, like, how are we gonna do this?
Transition's a big one. Yep. What else?
The timing of.
Transition timing. Okay. What else are they worried about?
moving,
You know they're going to probably have some money from selling their home, right?
yes.
So that's not as big of a deal. Moving headaches.
And then getting the house ready to.
Okay, the new house, right?
Yeah.
Or which one? Their home, the home they own?
Sell.
Okay, so selling home, getting ready. And that what we just talked about all those before.
The contingencies,
Contingencies.
you put an offer on the new one, that has gotta be full.
Okay, so then all these things, which ones would you do for upsizing? What would be the easiest thing, what people are worried about most to get people's leads? What do you think would be one of their biggest concerns or issues out of that list?
And then also the interest, because
Mhm.
like you, a lot of them have
Yep,
2%, 3%.
it's amazing and it sucks. Yep, it's a fresh, but it is what it is. I know I just have to accept it. Yep.
Yes.
You can't, and you have to just say, you just have to, people are getting used to it now, but it's still a big pill to swallow. Yep, like I said, I'm frustrated myself. We would have bought a small ranch already if we didn't have that. I was like, screw that. Yeah, but nope, we're waiting.
Well, and I have some that their homes are paid off, so they don't even have a mortgage payment, so.
Yep.
I have to help them to realize.
Understand why
this is a new mortgage payment
Yep.
nowadays, like
This is how it is now. Yep.
the norm is.
Okay.
2,000.
So what do you offer to sell their home? What can you do? What kind of packages can you offer? Remember, we talked about that already, right? We did the different, a move up package, the 8% pack. Yeah. Your gold, your silver, gold, and platinum. So you don't call it 8%, you call it what? My silver, gold, and platinum
The
package.
plan, especially if they're moving they're moving for a job, they have to go.
But then they want the platinum package because their home sells quicker with the platinum.
To secure the deal, what we do is give them a discount when you're listing.
That's what I was going to talk about. So
That
tell
way
them what you
you're
do. Yep.
guaranteed you're gonna
So
buy.
how much of a discount do you give?
Well, we give them a discount when they buy the new one,
Yes.
not when
Okay.
you're gonna
So
sell.
I do a 1% discount on whichever home is cheaper, and they get it when they close on their new home.
Yeah,
So if they're selling a 300 and buying a 5, they get a 1% of the $300,000 of the discount, and they get it when they close on their next home. They pay me the full 6 right now, or whatever the commission they want to. Probably do a 6. They pay me the full, or they pay me 3. I mean, the other agent gets 3. They pay the full 6, and then I give 1% back on their next closing. Okay.
The only thing, there's a little catch to that, is you have to make sure when they're buying the new one that they are allowed, because sometimes they're getting so much money from, say, the new.
So that's
building,
it's
that
not a
it
seller
caps you.
concession,
It caps you though.
but you're
because
not,
the-
but
Has to approve.
But
it.
that's why you have to do it. So she's talking about each type of loan has only a certain amount of money you can get. Like a VA loan is 3%. An FHA is 6% or 4. Is it 4? I thought it was 4. Thank you. See, I'm not a lender. 4. And then FHA, I think is 6, if I remember correctly. And each loan. So if that's a VA and my client needs 3% closing and they get 4% seller concessions, I can't give them my 1% back as concessions. But what can I do with it?
Reduce the price.
I can reduce the rate. I can give it up in the price. I can I can use it to give money to it. I can pay for things such as the warranty, the appraisal. I can use it for other things in the contract that they need money for. And I have an inspector now that you can use an inspection and you don't have to pay till closing. And the inspector, you pay the inspection at the title company pays the invoice at closing. And I could pay for that as part of my 1% that I give back. So you might not be able, like Sylvia said, you're right, you might not be able to give it all that way, but you can give it other ways. And you can use it to pay for things. Because you can pay for whatever invoice you want out of your commission. It doesn't matter. Okay, does that make sense? And that's how you can kind of talk about things like that for your sellers. I know we just spent a lot of time on that, so we're going to pause that for a minute. Okay, anyone have any questions on that?